Good to have you with us on the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. That's Matthew Rocchio. I'm Randy Karraker. It is great to have you with us. Happy Thanksgiving week, everybody. How you doing? Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm doing fantastic. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
This is going to be a fun week, and we're going to have a fun show. We want you to be part of it. All you need to do is be part of the chat because we want to hear from you. And by the way, if you want even more from STL Sports Central, then you can join our new Insiders Club. Yes, it's brand new special content from Bernie Miklas. You'll get all of his columns each week. The non-insiders will only get Monday. Plus, you'll get special content from Bernie and Brendan Schaefer and myself and Kareem Rush and more. You see the price. All you need to do is go to STL Sports Central, and you can take advantage of incredible STL Sports Central experiences, and you'll be supporting local independent sports media as well.
And also something fun we do. Just an example really quick here. Wilson, let's go tight on Randy. Thank you very much here. We do fun stuff like this where Randy will react to your guys' comments. You guys do a great job. You comment during the live shows, but also tons of comments come in to our videos that we put out throughout the week. You know, the Cards 365 videos, Bernie's videos we do with Randy that we put out on the side. You guys put comments in there, and Randy gets to react to some of those comments every week. And that's one of the videos right now that's going to be special for the insiders, including all the special stuff we're doing with Bernie Miklas and things like that. So the big thing is with the insiders.
Rock there, what?
Yeah, we got a lot. We've been getting a lot of questions ever since about mid-May about why is Rock still in the co-hosting seat with Randy, and the question persists. And so I was like, let's throw that one in there. All the other ones are also real things that we've heard about. None of those are fake. Every single one of those is real with slight editing so that it fit into the graphic.
I like the Fire Marmal, M-A-R-M-A-L one.
Yeah, that is also one that is 100% an accurate thing that we see. So that's just one of the little things that you get when you become an STL Sports Central insider. But today, we're not behind the payroll. We're having some fun Cardinals and Mizzou talk right here in front of you guys.
Absolutely. And starting with the Cardinals, interesting piece at The Athletic by Evan Drellich and Ken Rosenthal about how the Pirates and Marlins are interested in spending this offseason, in large part because the Players Association has filed grievances against those two franchises for not spending enough money. So they talked about the Pirates' interest in Josh Naylor before he re-signed with Seattle. But Katie Wu wrote, the Pirates are actively exploring trades, checking in with the Cardinals on their available left-handed hitters, Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, and Nolan Gorman. And I find that to be very interesting. And I also wonder if the Pirates, if they would be willing to move a guy like Mitch Keller. If I'm the Cardinals, and I'll preface this by saying that I am a fan of Jared Jones. I think that he's got a chance to be really good, but he didn't pitch last season. So do you want to take a chance on a guy coming back from an injury? And he's a guy with a ton of talent. He just turned 24 in August. So he's a good prospect. But if you're the Cardinals and you have a guy like Donovan, do you move that? Now, Nootbaar would be a different story for me. Gorman would be a different story for me. Nootbaar coming off of his heel injuries, Jones coming off of his injury, I'm willing to look at something like that. But I just don't think that unless the Pirates would be willing to move a guy like Keller and the Cardinals would be willing to extend him, I don't think Donovan for Keller is a very good match. I think there are other teams that are a better fit for the Cardinals in terms of getting a return than the Pirates are. Now, the Cardinals might look at that completely differently because they're evaluating. Heck, I'm just looking at top 30 things from MLB Pipeline. They've got people that have actually watched these players play and pitch. So their idea and opinion of Pirates players is going to be different than mine.
Yeah, and the big thing is obviously the Pirates are trying to add offense. What were they going to be trading from? They're going to be trading from their surplus, which is going to be pitching. Obviously, that's where things should be matching up. Yeah, to your point, I don't see a Brendan Donovan trade making as much sense. I think in a lot of ways, take away what do the Pirates have. For me, you don't want to do anything that could maybe change the optimization of value for Brendan Donovan. And I still wonder if maybe just the in-division thing maybe just kind of takes that down a little bit of a peg. Do you want it as well if you're the Cardinals because you know that he's a successful player? On the other hand, Nootbaar and Gorman, there's such a risk that either of those guys, or such a chance that either of those guys doesn't become a guy that really bites you in the ass. Whether it's Newt not being available or Gorman just never developing. Now there is the other side of the coin of, again, Newt being that like 113 OPS player consistently for the next 5 years. That would be a little bit annoying. He was doing it in a Pirates jersey. If Nolan Gorman finds that power 30 home run potential, be pretty annoying if it happens in a Pirates jersey. But I would understand trading those guys considering the inherent risk of their development that stands there if you can go ahead and get the pitcher.
Now, one thing that we need to keep in mind, and I thought about this over the weekend. One Cardinal executive was talking to me about when I said, hey, what's the chance of you guys taking, and this was middle of the summer, taking the approach that Tampa takes and just trading guys that are coming up on either free agency or coming up on arbitration. He said, we're not going to be like Tampa. He said, now, Tampa will make a trade if a player has 1/10 of a point higher in WAR. They'll make the trade. They'll trade a guy with less WAR for a guy with 1/10 of a point more WAR.
That's got to be a little hyperbolic.
I don't know. I don't know that it is. We can go back and look. But here's my point. When we're looking at prospects for the Cardinals to get prospects, I mean possible return for Brendan Donovan. His WAR this past season was 2.7. The year before that, 2.6. And he was injured in 23, had a 1.9. He's probably like a 2.6, 2.7 WAR guy. So my thought is that if the Cardinals make a deal, whoever the player is, look at WAR, because that's how the Cardinals operate. That's why Bill DeWitt hired Jeff Luhnow back in 2003, so that he could get a number to rank players and place a value on players, and then trades would be made. And I think that that's probably the direction the Cardinals are going to go. Maybe not completely, maybe not to that extent, but my guess will be that when the Cardinals get a return for Brendan Donovan or Lars Nootbaar or whomever, the WAR is going to be pretty similar.
That's interesting. By the way, if you're just matching up like 2.7 WARs or just over 2.0 WARs, Mr. Braxton Ashcraft, but I don't know why the Pirates would do that. He both finished and started games for them this year.
And I'm going with a B WAR rather than F WAR.
Oh, fair enough. Let's see here. So let's see what Nootbaar's 162 game average WAR is 2.8. But that's heavily weighted by a 3.3 2023.
Okay. And Donovan's is 3.7 because he had the 4 in his rookie year.
Yeah. Okay. But still, I mean, Nootbaar's like a 1 point. He's been a 1.5 and a 1.3 player the last point. I mean, Nootbaar's a 1.5.
In not many games played, right?
Yeah, not that many games played. I mean, that's Bailey Falter, 1.5.
Okay.
Mitch Keller, 1.4.
I would do that. I definitely do Mitch Keller.
Yeah, I don't think they will, though.
Yeah. So that's just something to look at, is if you're really going to
dive do have the pitching
numbers, is look at that. Look at the WAR, because that's something that the Cardinals definitely will, under Chaim Bloom and his staff. They're going to be, as they say, working the margins and finding that inefficiency or that player that somebody else maybe doesn't appreciate as much as they do, and try to find that guy that can help them, that other people don't realize can help them.
You mama, I'm actually okay with trading with the Pirates. Screw the Cubs, Brewers, and Reds. I don't know why you feel that way, but I understand it implicitly. So
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and help out, I don't think John Mozeliak ever made a single trade with the Pirates.
Johan Oviedo?
Oh, Quintana. There you go. So he did at the deadline. So that was his only one. He did the Walt did the Jason Christensen one.
A bunch of Reds trades.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of little Reds trades over the years. Ryan Ludwig.
Walt did. Ludwig wound up there after he was here, though. Ludwig went in the Westbrook.
They didn't trade him
right?
They didn't trade him to Cincinnati?
No. He wound up with the Reds at the end of his career.
Oh, okay. They traded him too.
I think they traded him. It was a 3-way deal with
Okay.
Cleveland, San Diego.
That makes
so
sense.
He bounced around a little.
We got a comment here from username I can't really read, but boy, reading your Facebook comments, a lot of Cardinals fans have an unrealistic idea of Donnie's trade value. Yeah, there was one back and forth I had in the Facebook comment or the Twitter, YouTube comments. I got through 3 websites. They're really fast. where somebody's like, well, I'd rather, sure, I'll take Bubic, but what about Noah Cameron? I'm like, well, the Royals are going to trade the Cardinals Noah Cameron.
Well,
why wouldn't they trade the Cardinals Noah Cameron if they trade him Chris Bubic? I'm not sure what kind of conversation we're having here. But then there was a bunch of people who were just like, there's been a lot of comments. I didn't pull this for the Randy Reacts videos, but maybe I will this week. Or you can just get a reaction right now, which is just so many people being like, why would you trade Brendan Donovan? He's a perfect Cardinal. Just sign him to a 5-year extension. And it's a weird, I don't know if it's a lack of just acknowledging what the Cardinals are now, or a lack of treating baseball like the stock market that it actually is, or what it is. Probably a combination of the two things. But I was just like this commenter, kind of surprised how many comments are people just objectively being like, you can't trade Brendan Donovan, he's the best player on the team.
Well, there's a couple of things. And number one, I think we have to keep in mind again that the Cardinals are here. Let me turn this down.
Mute us.
The Cardinals are going young. Like I know that there's a piece coming up with Joe Roderick and Brendan Schaefer when they talk about Nick Castellanos. The Cardinals aren't going to go with Nick Castellanos. They are building a team to win in 27 or 28. And so they aren't going to go out and get a 32-year-old outfielder. Brendan Donovan is a really valuable commodity right now, but they also have algorithms to show when players decline. And once they pass their 30th or 31st birthday, they do go into a decline. They don't want a declining Brendan Donovan for when they think their team is going to be ready to win. And the other point we need to make when you talk about possible trades, and this is why I brought up the WAR thing, because the emotion has been taken out of this by baseball people. They're looking at numbers, they're looking at algorithms, they're looking at projections about what a player can do. There is no emotion at all involved in this. So there won't be bidding wars. A team isn't going to say, well, if the Dodgers are offering X, we'll offer Y, and then the Dodgers will come back and say, well, if they're offering Y, we'll offer Z. It doesn't work that way anymore, unfortunately. And that's why I think we need to look hard at the numbers.
Yeah, that's the fact of the matter is just it's asset management. I know I keep saying that, but that's just what it is. And you trade Brendan Donovan because he is the best player on the team. And when you are a bad team and that isn't going to compete for multiple years, you say, okay, we have to punt on things. When you're the Pirates and you're a bad team, but your best player is one of the best players in baseball and you only have him for 4 years, your reaction is, okay, we better actually spend some money. One thing before we move on here, because I thought the article on The Athletic was fascinating, because do you buy into any of this push potential spending from the Pirates and the Marlins? One of the angles they threw out there, that Rosenthal and Drellich threw out there, was that they're kind of going to use a big spending offseason as like almost leverage as to why a cap would be a good thing in the future, because teams like them could then spend. Do you buy that angle?
Spending
of
to
them?
A floor.
Yeah, exactly. Of them, them showing kind of like how, basically with their economics this offseason, why a change in the baseball economics would be necessary.
Yeah.
Are you buying that angle from the Marlins and Pirates?
100%, because that's been a complaint. These teams aren't trying to compete. What a salary floor does, and what a salary cap and floor, where the players get 50% of the revenue generated by the league and therefore the teams. The NHL has a salary floor and a salary cap, and that forces teams to get to a certain threshold so that financially they have no choice but to have veteran players. Now they have to choose whether or not they're going to have good veteran players or not good, or they have to be smart enough. Like let's look at what the Arizona Coyotes used to do. They traded for Chris Pronger so that they could get to the floor. They traded for Pavel Datsyuk that they could get to the floor. But they collected assets. Like they got Pronger, I think, and a number 2, and took on his salary, basically giving up nothing for him just so that they could have picks.
I feel like you'll have a better grasp on this just from being around labor negotiations over the last 30 years. One of the points that they made in the article was also that essentially Pittsburgh and Miami wouldn't be able to count on the same revenue sharing numbers if they go to a floor and a cap. Now, based on what we've seen from the NFL, do you think it's realistic that revenue sharing would get constrained by a floor and a cap?
I don't think so, because the revenue sharing is also already pretty good. That's the only way you can make it work, is by having revenue sharing.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you can have anything untoward happening in terms of teams getting less and then having to spend to a floor. I think what you need to do is equal things out. That's the genius of the NFL. Now, the NFL also doesn't have local broadcast, right? And so,
but if you equal things out, unless there's more money coming in, if you equal things out, that will mean that the Miami Marlins, instead of getting the most, which is 20, 30 million more than, let's say, even the Pirates, I think, based on the calculations they explained in this article, the Miami Marlins would then be getting less revenue sharing.
Well, it should be across the board.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be across the board in baseball, because the Dodgers aren't going to give up their revenues. The Yankees and the Mets and the Cubs aren't going to give up their TV revenues. But it has to be closer to make it reasonable. The high and low end of what teams make and can spend has to be compressed.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be some sort of a method that allows the Pirates to compete on a playing field that is more level with the Dodgers and the Yankees.
That was the one thing that jumped out to me was kind of their not saying it will go down, but essentially there's a risk that a salary and cap and changing the economics this year or this next upcoming year with a lockout / a strike would be the issue, would then be potentially the revenue sharing coming down. And I see why for the Marlins it could be an issue, because they're getting so much damn revenue sharing money.
Mm-hmm.
But while the majority of teams, it probably wouldn't come down a bunch, but it feels like I think the Marlins would be a little bit in risk of that. But I see the angle of why a team like the Pirates could maybe try to use this as an example as to why it's more necessary.
Yeah. And the boy XC40K, there is talk of splitting all the TV money. Just don't see how you force the New York and LA teams to share their money. I'm with you 100% there. Do the Dodgers share their, Dodger Vision Spectrum money? Yeah. Do the Yankees share their yes money? Maybe a portion of it, but they aren't going to plug their $500 million in, and then the Dodgers or the Pirates are paying $40 million in. The Dodgers are, and unfortunately, because this is the way the NFL is genius, but the Dodgers aren't going to say, okay, let's collect a total. This is a 2-team revenue share, okay, of $540 million. We give 500, the Pirates give 40, and then we split that 50-50. That's just not going to work for the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Also, this came out today. I don't know if
I want to make one more point here.
Go ahead.
About Brendan Donovan, because I've said before, he is a perfect player for a lot of teams. He's a really good player, okay? He does a lot of things really well. He gets on base. He's a good fielder. He makes contact. Very nice player. Brendan Donovan is not a great player. Brendan Donovan is not a guy that, like a Juan Soto, that's going to walk in and change the fortunes of a team. He's a really good player that can help a good team win and prevent a lot of losses. But relative to the Cardinals trying to get Giancarlo Stanton when he was the MVP, relative to people like Judge and Soto and Ohtani and Freeman and Betts, and Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper and even Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki. He's not a great player. He's not going to change the fortunes of an organization in terms of adding a ton of wins. He's a really nice addition, a really nice complementary player. But when we talk about not wanting to trade Brendan Donovan and wanting to give him a 5-year contract, love him. Think he's great. I think he's a great Cardinal. However, he's maybe the Cardinals. He is the Cardinals' best player. That doesn't make him great. The Cardinals don't have great players, and that's one of the problems that they have right now. They need to get more great players. Donovan is a really good player. He'd be a really nice complementary piece if you had 2 or 3 great players, but he's not going to be a guy that puts you over the top in terms of having a team that won 78 games and getting to 91.
Can't disagree with anything you just said there. Talking more about the economics, because we mentioned here about how the New York and LA teams aren't going to share their money. Another great article today came out on ESPN, and it was talking about how Steinbrenner is talking about the Yankees payroll. And despite the fact that their revenues were reported at $700 million with a $300 million payroll, he is saying that the Yankees were not in positive cash flow this season. They did not bring in more money than they spent. They were negative revenue with a $700 million revenue. They were negative this year when you talk about payroll, the $100 million they have to pay to the city of New York every February 1st, including the COVID year, because again, the mega millionaires and billionaires suffered too in 2020. Don't forget that. The Cubs ownership also told us they lost a lot of money. We all did great though here. And then he says that nobody spends more on scouting and player evaluation and player fitness and things like that.
Here's the direct quote from Hal Steinbrenner. He challenged the notion that the Yankees made a profit in 2025, suggesting that they lost money after Forbes reported that they generated $700 million in revenue. Here's the quote. He said, "I don't want to get into it, but that's not a fair statement or an accurate statement. Everybody wants to talk about revenues. They need to talk about our expenses, including the $100 million expense to the city of New York that we have to pay every February 1st, including the COVID year. It all starts to add up in a hurry. Nobody spends more money, I don't believe, on player development, scouting, performance science. These all start to add up. If you want to go look at the revenues, you've got to somehow try to figure out the expense side of it as well. You might be surprised." Now, so let's assume that the Yankees have 400 analytics people that are making $100,000 a year. That's like 40 million, right? Mm-hmm. And they made $700 million in revenues, if Forbes is correct, $300 million. Then let's say that they made, so we just spent 40 million on analytics people. Let's say let's say they have 400. Let's say they have 500 employees on the Yankees that are all making an average of $500,000 a piece. Is that 50 million? 100,000 times 500.
I think so. Yeah.
50 million. So
100,000 times 500.
Yeah. So that's 50 million, right? Okay. There we go. So, so all the employees, and then let's say they spend, so we're up to 350. Let's say they spend $150 million on travel and insurance. And this is really a liberal estimate here. So that's $500 million. Okay. So you're still looking at a $200 million profit. I'm trying to figure out, and let's throw the $100 million. So that's $600 million. So you're still at a $100 million profit and I'm using very liberal estimates. By the way, what's that $100 million a year for?
I think it's just some tax deal. I think it's some tax deal they have with the city of New York.
Okay. I just don't see how the Yankees could be losing money. That would be, in my opinion, that would be like economic malpractice on the part of Hal Steinbrenner if he would allow a club with $700 million in revenues to lose money.
It is a simplification of a complex financing deal, but it refers to the team's annual payment of interest on a loan from the city that helped finance their new stadium.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, then you're getting something out of it.
The interest payment is a form of revenue for the city, which is a part of a larger agreement where the Yankees also make rent payments for the city-owned stadium.
Well, you know what? He didn't have to take out a loan. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
And he didn't have to take out a loan from the city.
Hal isn't the big spender his daddy was.
So yeah, that's
Enrico,
interesting comments from Hal Steinbrenner.
Enrico says utilities, payroll taxes, travel is another one.
I put travel and insurance in there. Yep.
You're going to do a lot of things with your books to make it look like you want. But listen, let's take it on face value. Mm-hmm. It's another point to your argument that teams like the Dodgers and Yankees are not going to change things because they're going to fight certain changes because revenue sharing can't change, because they're one of the reasons, they're one of the teams that's pissed off that the Pirates and the Marlins get to screw around with all the rev share money and not pay it enough. Mm-hmm. That's why there's all these lawsuits from the Players Association against these teams that have been filed over the last 5 or 6 seasons. But to your point, those teams aren't going to want to, have too much more of their money affected and just hand it over to the Cleveland Guardians for no reason.
Well, and there's the issue is that at some point the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets and the Cubs and the Phillies, they've got to have somebody to play. And if the Royals and the Pirates and maybe the Cardinals are no good, then the sport, the competition that people are paying to see isn't compelling.
It's funny, earlier on in the chat, Enrico Palazzo, Dodgers and Yankees can just have their own league, and you mama, there won't be any TV money if baseball becomes unwatchable.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a really good point.
And we've seen that with the Cardinals, haven't we? The Cardinals, as they have drawn less people and had less exciting players. And granted, the sport isn't what I grew up with. Certainly not what I enjoyed as a 20-something in the 80s. The sport is not as watchable as it was. And let's make another point here. In the 80s, the Cardinals could compete because we didn't have the mega $1 million TV deals like we have now. The Cardinals could compete. The Yankees were spending ridiculous money, but the Cardinals could compete with the Mets, even though they didn't spend as much, but they drafted and developed and spent a lot of money there. The Reds could compete. They won a World Series in 1990. The Pirates could compete. They were in the playoffs in 90, 91, 92. And obviously, when you look at the Royals winning a World Series in 2015, if lightning strikes, you can win. But now I think as we have gotten into the 2020s, we've reached a stage in baseball history where the medium to small market teams can't consistently compete for a championship. That can happen in the NFL. That can happen in the NHL. That can happen in the NBA. But in baseball, a team, a franchise in a market like Minnesota or Cleveland or St. Louis or even Milwaukee, they can't compete for a championship on a year-to-year basis like the Chiefs can, like the Packers can, like the Vikings can. There are a lot of medium to small market franchises in the NFL and the NBA that have an opportunity. Milwaukee can compete in the NBA. They're pretty darn good on a regular basis because they can keep a guy like Giannis around. San Antonio can compete for championships. Just doesn't happen in baseball.
Enrico Palazzo said, guys with a 220, 320, 520 slash line who are stationary robots aren't entertaining to watch.
They're not. No.
And High Definition says baseball sucks. It will always suck unless they become more like the other pro sports.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't have to.
That's. I would argue they have become more like other pro sports. And over the last 20 years, in like 1983, they were probably one of the furthest they've ever been away from other sports. And I think Randy would argue when they were most watchable.
Yeah. And if you ask Theo Epstein, or even if you ask Chaim Bloom, they'll say that they didn't want to make the sport boring. They didn't want the three true outcomes, but they're paid to win. And what wins? The three true outcomes win, and power pitching wins, and a lot of strikeouts win. That's just the way the game has been played for a while. And that's changing to an extent because of the rules changes. And I think there will probably be more rules changes on the way. But you can't blame the people who developed ways to win, like the guys in Tampa, with less money, because that's what they were being paid to do, was to find a way for the amount of money that they were allotted to spend on payroll to be able to win.
And also, it's like a bunch of cheapskates had to figure out how to win baseball games, and that's why they invented Moneyball. And then the rich guys go, hey, a more efficient way to run my club. Mm-hmm. I'll also do that. I'll just also every once in a while pay a guy $700 million. How did
the movie Moneyball end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Billy Beane was offered the job in Boston.
Exactly. Highest paid, and it reportedly was the highest paid GM deal in sports.
Yeah.
Is how they frame it. Boy says Thunder just won the NBA in a tiny market. And honestly, it's because of two things. One, the NBA has gone out of their way to try to make it easier for players to re-sign with their original team. Now, there are a lot of intricacies, and you can criticize how the NBA has done that in a lot of ways. They've hamstrung other modes to keep your team, but the way they do max extensions and things like that, bird rights, they make it so that it's easier to keep your teams. They obviously have a lot of revenue sharing. But also the Thunder are an anomaly, and they actually kind of, this goes back to supporting Randy's point, which is if you're not building a championship team, trade every possible asset you can. And that's what the Thunder did as soon as the window closed on, they traded James Harden, and they realized they weren't going to be a championship team with Westbrook, Ibaka, and Durant without Harden. Eventually they moved on, and what do we see for a solid 8 years from Thunder, which is just get every kind of asset we can, make trades, get the Paul George trade. It's not going to work out, immediately shipping off. That gives us SGA, and that resets things. So you can look at it one of two things, which is, let's look at it in the large scale of things, which is the Thunder winning it, and the Pacers being there shows you how important it is for small markets to be able to keep their players and having mechanisms there. And two, a smaller thing, let's just zoom in on the Cardinals. It also shows you that from a team building perspective, if you're not building a champion, the best thing to do is trade players and help you build one down the road. And
Bob Costas has made this point forever. There should be a premium placed on being smart. The premium shouldn't be on being able to kill a fly with a sledgehammer with your payroll. And to the Dodgers' credit, they're extremely smart in addition to spending a ton of money. And the Yankees, when they had their dynasty, where did they get Bernie Williams out of their system? Where did they get Derek Jeter out of their system? Where did they get Jorge Posada? Where did they get Andy Pettitte, right? Mariano Rivera. Those guys all came out of their system. And then they had relatively inexpensive, some guys that were like washed up, like Tim Raines was washed up, Chad Curtis, Scott Brocious, Tino. It wasn't like they had, when they were winning that group of series 96 through 01, it wasn't like they had an outrageous group of free agents that they had collected there.
No,
they were smart. And Gene Michael had put together a really good team, and then they go out and get A-Rod, and obviously they spent to win in 09 when they got Teixeira and CC Sabathia. But they were smart. And the key is you can be a rich team that isn't very smart. Like you could have a general manager or Pobo that says, yeah, you don't really need an ace to win a World Series like David Stearns did with the Mets. But if you have the combination of smart and money, then you're kind of unbeatable.
Yeah, and that because then you can do what the Dodgers do. You can make all these great moves, and less. I'm going to change the analogy here. Less killing a fly with a sledgehammer, and more like killing one fly with like a tennis racket that's electrified, because that's kind of what the Dodgers do with their pitching, which is they just like have this big wide swath, and they get like 19 people inside of it, and they're like, 6 of you will eventually be healthy at some point, and then we'll be fine. And so they do that exact same thing, which is they build smart, and then because they have the money, they can kill a couple flies with sledgehammers, and they can figure things out.
By the way, let me add one other thing for you. Right now, in MLB's top 100 prospects list, the Dodgers have numbers 13, 20, 34, 45, 64, 98, and 100. They have 4 outfielders, a shortstop, left-handed pitcher, and another shortstop. So in addition to being, and by the way, I'm just going to guess here, that Josu DePaula was an international signing.
That's ridiculous.
That Eduardo Quintero is an international signing. That Emil Morales is an international signing. So in addition to being great, the Dodgers have 7 of the top 100 prospects according to MLB Pipeline.
Yeah, but they're all like, like from like 30 to 60. So they don't have the top ones.
13 and 20 are pretty good.
Never mind. Missed those 2.
The Cardinals have 4.
God bless America. And it's not fun.
Yeah, by the way, those
really isn't fun.
Weatherholt, Doyle, Rodriguez, Bernal are the Cardinals at 5, 36, 55, and 92. By the way, Quinn Matthews is no longer a top 100 prospect.
No, that's because he's a major league pitcher now. Regional alignment with
a really good year in the. Oh no,
regional alignment with an unbalanced schedule is the next Manfred idea. Please, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
That's not actually going to happen. Like I know they've talked about it, but that's not actually going to happen.
No,
that would be asinine.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
I like they're talking about division alignment right now in the MLS, I just know they're going to screw over
and college too.
I just know they're going to screw over the
people have
Major
that
League
idea
Baseball
for college,
or the Midwest.
Now it would be smarter for college.
They're going to screw over the Midwest. I just know it.
Yeah,
I just know they're going to screw it. It's just they have a chance to. It's like, well, we could either screw over one LA team and a Texas team, or we could screw over the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest. I've seen this game. You think they're going to screw over a Southern California and Texas team over the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest? Guys, read your Bibles. Like this is a story as old as time. We know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, by the way, did you know that we are closing in on the absolute date to have legalized sports gambling in the state of Missouri?
Yes, it's the only thing I'm happy about with it getting colder.
Okay, so we are 1 week from today, big boy. 1 week from today, December 1st, is our day to be able to use DraftKings Sportsbook in Missouri. It's coming to the Show Me State on December 1st, and soon you're going to get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder that DraftKings is America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown's on. Just 7 days to go, and new customers get to sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use that code right there on your screen, STL Sports, and score $300 in bonus bets once DraftKings is live. That's code STL Sports. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Mizzou and their loss to Oklahoma.
Fine.
Another tough loss to a top 10 team. Now, they trailed Alabama 27-24 with the ball and 1:11 left, and then Prabula had an interception. Trailed Vandy 17-10 with the ball and 1:52 left. Incomplete, 3rd and 17 from the Vandy 37. They got the crap knocked out of them by A&M, and then trailed Oklahoma just 14-6 at the half, lost 17-6. Missouri has a playoff quality defense. Their defense right now after the weekend is 10th in the country in terms of yards, but they do not have a playoff quality offense, and that's where the rub is. That's where the problems lie. And there are a couple of things that go into this. I thought it was very interesting the other day that if it wasn't a shot, it sure sounded like a shot when Eli Drinkwitz said, we showed no creativity. It was run, pass, pass. No creativity, no rhythm, run, pass, pass. I thought that was a shot across the bow at the play calling by Kirby Moore. And then Prabula, we've talked all season long about his lack of arm talent.
Your tweet was incredible.
Was that
Randy's tweet was incredible. It was like, really just, I mean, other than the fact that he can't go deep, can't complete, has no accuracy and can't run right now, not a bad showing from Bo Prabula.
It was full package.
Damn, just full on. Oh God, who was it? Oh, it was the big hurt who had the other than giving away this World Series, the Mets have nothing to hold their heads about.
Exactly right. And you know what, the guy, and I get that he had the ankle injury, but there was that play it was the tipped ball, and then Coleman got hit with the head shot, the targeting. But on that play, Prabula easily could have run for a first down if he were healthy, but I am assuming that he wasn't 100% healthy. But he also he threw a ball into double coverage. His decision making is very questionable.
Bad.
On the second interception, right?
That was bad.
Yeah. There were just a couple, and so
let's get to the big one. Because I know we just had a big Kirby Moore thing multiple times in the last week. That was one of the comments we talked about in the Insider Raider Reacts thing, and it was kind of funny how things played out. Because man, loved the scripted first drive. I don't know what happened after that. Drinkwitz is standing there. Mizzou's leading. The first couple drives have gone well. They have a chance. It's 4th down. They're deep in Oklahoma territory. And despite the fact that it looked like a miracle that the first field goal actually got through the uprights or past the line of scrimmage, Drinkwitz trots the field goal unit out again. The kick is blocked. And if you believe in that kind of thing, Big Mo is on the Oklahoma side for the rest of the game. In the moment, a lot of criticism from the Missouri Tiger fan base as the play call is coming in that they're going to kick it. And it's hard not to see that one call considering everything else, he talks about being just an unbelievable, almost unredeemable mistake. That was bad.
Yeah, it was. And I don't know how you or what you do to solve that. By the way,
just have some guts. Where's the guts?
Where's the guts? Where's the spirit?
Like this, and so somebody else pointed this out, and it's a great point. It's just that Eli Drinkwitz came out, firing that very first game against LSU. He was going for it on fourth downs, taking these crazy moments. They're getting the big stops on the goal line and things like that. But that's like he hasn't been that aggressive any other time in his career, and he talks about something to prove and things like that. Standing on business, but like. You can't be punting the ball in certain situations like that. You can't be kicking the field goals when you have no confidence in your kicker, when you're switching kickers halfway through the game and things like that. There's no confidence. Your special team sucks.
So
terrible unit.
So you're going to forego kicking with kickers that you have no confidence in so that you can run a play on fourth down with a quarterback that you have no confidence in.
Or run the ball, then. I got a lot of confidence in Ahmad Hardy's ability to get 3 yards, no matter what the situation is. I'm not going to say the blocking is going to be well for him. I'm not going to say he's not going to have to do a Herculean effort to get those 3 yards, but
Oklahoma's pretty good.
Oklahoma did it 6 or 7 times. Damn it right, they are.
Oklahoma was
There's
fourth
no
in the
doubt
nation against the rush.
There's no doubt, but they were getting the yards they needed to. Again, even without some great blocking, as great as they are against the rush, though, their pass rush was really causing more problems against the Tigers' offense than their rush defense was. The bottom line for me, though, comes down to losing to 3 different top 10 teams by 3 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
That is a hard pill to swallow for the Missouri Tigers, because you win those 3 games. Even with getting your teeth kicked in by A&M, you're top 10 team, you're a playoff team, bottom line, and there's no doubt about that.
But are you as good as those 3 teams? I mean, are you as good as Alabama, as good as Oklahoma? You're as good as Vandy, probably, if that game's played in Missouri, and you lost Purbuell in that game too. But if that game's played in Columbia, probably
if Missouri has,
I don't think Missouri's as good as Alabama.
If Missouri has a healthy kicker, they're not that much worse. I don't think the difference between them and Oklahoma is that much. I certainly don't think even right now that I think they're a better team than Vanderbilt.
I think Oklahoma's defense is stellar.
Mizzou's defense is a national championship caliber defense.
It is, yeah,
and so is Oklahoma. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But I mean, you're losing by 11 points. You didn't score. If the offense can do anything in the second half, but that's a game.
How many explosive plays has Mizzou had this year in the passing game?
3.
I mean, didn't Oklahoma have 2 to win that game, basically?
Yes.
And so there's no explosiveness, and they don't have an explosive quarterback. Matera is an explosive quarterback. And 87, basically, you lost the game on an 87-yard touchdown pass by Oklahoma. And Mizzou can't do that. Mizzou just doesn't have that.
And I guess that's kind of the underlying issue here, is that the Tigers, this entire season, when one team has needed to make a play, the other team's made the play and the Tigers haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's... And I guess, is that a talent difference? Is that a thing that's on the margins? Where do we want to stick that? And like, where does Mizzou have to get better?
Well, where they need to get better when you talk about 4th and 3. You have to have a group of people playing on the offensive line that are bigger, tougher, and meaner than the guys that are playing on the other defensive line. It all starts, the whole sport starts up front with those 5 guys on the offensive line. And if you have the ability to have your guys beat their guys,
that's what they had last year,
then you have a chance to win the game. Remember when we had Dan Deerdorf one time on 101, and he said, the best feeling in the world for me, and the Dan Deerdorf, Hall of Fame offensive tackle, he said, when we would get to the 4th quarter, and if I wanted to move a guy left, I'd move him left. If I wanted to move him right, I'd move him right. If I wanted to move him backwards, I'd move him backwards. And I don't think Mizzou can do that on their offensive line. I think Georgia historically has been able to do that with their offensive line. I think historically Alabama has been able to do that with their offensive line. Now you're seeing that with Oregon. When you lean on people and finally break them, I don't think Mizzou has a group that can lean on an opposing SEC defensive line and break them.
After the 5-minute mark of the first quarter, Mizzou had 6 rushing yards. Yeah, at that point, I guess my point about Hardy being able to do it against any group proved really wrong. They were putting like 9 in the box, and then Mizzou wasn't able to do anything because, at that point, they knew that Purbuell couldn't get anything going in the air.
There you go. Yep.
And it was nice to actually see them, get Donovan Olubade involved in anything other than a miracle 15-yard throw down the middle. They got him involved on like a 7-yard slant route, and I was like, hey, they could get something going here. They didn't. But again, it's just with the way the defense. I mean, the defense flustered Mateer. He had a solid game, but he wasn't. Other than the big slant route, which again is partially screwed up because for some reason they were single high and Carnell was shading the wrong side. Bad play there, but Mateer was being held down. Again, the defense is incredible despite not having the best athletes. I think on the back end, the defense has been incredible this entire season. And it's just been unfortunate that the offense, which is supposed to be Drinkwitz's, flavor, the thing he focuses on, hasn't been able to do it because they, at no point, I think maybe were playing their best quarterback because he might have gotten injured on a run in the first game of the season.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. And I also think that to his detriment, we've talked before about Eli being a CEO, and college football coaches now have to be CEOs. Unfortunately, Eli can't be the offensive coordinator anymore because he's dealing with agents. He's dealing with his staff, that is scouts. He's dealing with personnel people. He's dealing with trying to recruit and keep people in Columbia. So he doesn't coach as much. And so he's turned things over on defense to Corey Batoon, on offense to Kirby Moore, and that might be working to his detriment. Now, does he have to sign off on game planning? Yes. But in terms of play calling, and that's what he was talking about the other day, the creativity, the play calling, I think that he needs to get more involved with that aspect of it. Samuel House says, where's Mad Mike Martz at? Well, Mike Martz was speaking to the Eureka football team a couple weeks ago. He's available. Maybe he could at least have a clinic for Kirby Moore.
And here's the thing: Kirby Moore obviously is a talented offensive mind, but this is not the first time that I've seen an offensive coordinator, or we've seen an offensive coordinator who is really good at dialing up those first 2 or 3 drives when the first one's fully scripted, the second one's partially scripted, and there's a little bit, kind of the remains there in that third one. And then the offense never really does the same thing the rest of the game. We've seen offensive coordinators like that. I feel like early in his career, Brian Schottenheimer would have that happen, where his first scripted drive would go great, but once things had to go on the fly and you had to build the game plan in the moment while the defensive coordinator is also working against you, when he was here, he just didn't have that ability. He's obviously become a better offensive coordinator.
And he was working for a Neanderthal head coach.
That also
philosophically, they were doing what Fisher wanted to do.
Now Jeff Fisher did say, though, he did remind us the importance of special teams, and I feel like Drinkwitz could have listened to that. Mizzou would be a little bit better this year.
Well, would Mizzou be better if their kicker hadn't gotten hurt?
That also helps. CEO stuff right there. Again, CEO stuff right there.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, when you have lesser big guy talent, and I don't know really how good the receivers are. We don't see Speedy Johnson anymore. Manning is okay. Olubade looks like a player. They've got some guys. Obviously, the tight ends can play, but I don't think they're in a situation where they can afford to be conservative. They can't play scared. And it looks like offensively, with some of the play calls, when you talk about lack of creativity, it looks like some of the calls are playing scared. And I think that's one of the reasons that when you talk about losing games by a possession, that they do that. Because sometimes you do, like you say, have to go for it on fourth down, steal a possession that the other team didn't think you were going to have, and try to score like that. Yeah,
I mean, and you know what? We're criticizing Prabula and all that, but at the same time, it's like, at fourth down pass at the end of the, when the game's still in the balance, and that's on 2 sets of fingertips for Kevin Coleman. And I know it's not the easiest throw. I don't want to come down hard on Coleman for not being able to reel it in, but I mean that's not the easiest throw in the world either. And he puts it right in there, and he hits all 10 fingers.
He had it. So he's got to make that catch. Magic Plinko 80. We can all agree Kirby has to go. He lost his touch after 2023. I think that did happen. I think he got dumb. Something happened to his brain after 2023, and he's just not as smart as he was in 2023. I don't think that personnel had anything to do with it. I don't think that losing a couple of offensive tackles to the NFL, losing a couple of receivers to the NFL, losing a quarterback and a couple of running backs to the NFL. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think he just got dumb.
Armand Membo has had multiple games where he's been the top-ranked right tackle in the league, according to Pro Football Focus. Take it for what you will, but he's a damn good player. And yeah, they obviously haven't got the offensive line play they expected this year.
Yep.
And that's been problematic.
Marcus
and
Bryant
again,
is a swing tackle for the 10-2 Patriots.
It's funny because I've been having this back and forth discussion on the radio show about John Gruden. Because like my thing is like I'm a big John Gruden fan, but it's like I don't know. Like I know he obviously is a savant when it comes to X's and O's, but he also had issues. And I don't know as much in his second stint with the Raiders a few years ago, but his Buccaneers teams, he had kind of funnily similar thing with Drinkwitz, where his entire thing was he's this ace offensive coordinator, he's a quarterback guru. He gets to Tampa Bay, obviously has 2002, but then the next 10 years he spends every season not having a quarterback and having a mediocre offense that, if you watch Buccaneers games, would have 2 successful drives when he had everything scripted, and then it would die out late in games. And my point is like same thing with John Gruden. Is like I know that Kirby Moore is a talented offensive mind, but there's no doubt in my mind that there is also something missing in his play calling at times this season, compared to previous seasons, and also compared to how effective his plan is early in the game and how ineffective the plan is late in games. And that's just something I think we've seen from other offensive coordinators who, again, are talented, but maybe just haven't figured it out 100% yet.
Let's look at, though, Lane Kiffin, great offensive coordinator. Look at Lincoln Riley, offensive mind. We can go to the NFL. We can look at Sean McVay. We can look at Mike Martz. And we go back to coaching scared. Those guys were fearless in their play calls. Yeah. And sometimes you get so worried about an interception, you forget to win the game. And here, what you have to do is when you throw a pick, you say, fine, we'll stop them and we'll get them next time. That was Mike Martz's thing. If Kurt would throw an interception, he'd come over to the sideline and he'd say, don't worry, we're going to dial it up and throw it again next time. And that's how you have an explosive offense. You just keep trying those, because right now, the old Woody Hayes thing, there's 3 things that can happen when you throw a ball, and 2 of them are bad because it was a completion, an interception, or it falling. Well, now with the fact that we have so much pass interference called, so you can catch it, you can get a pass interference call, you can get it picked, or it can be incomplete. More times than not, actually, it winds up getting caught by somebody. And I would much rather have that opportunity to get the pass interference call. But again, I don't think Pribula has the arm to throw it deep on a regular basis.
They've taken the top off of defense legitimately one time this season, and it was against Central Arkansas in the season opener. That's the one time they've taken the top off of defense.
Yeah, you have to be fearless, right?
I mean, even Chris Givens had a couple 50-yard catches for some bad Rams teams. I'm just saying.
Samuel Howe, 1645. If they have GMs, then they should allow trades. What if they don't have a GM, though?
Yeah,
what if,
Boy says most SEC schools have a GM in a front office to deal with agents and NIL so coaches can coach. Is Mizzou doing that? Yes. We've gone through this. They don't have a GM, but he has 24 people below him who are doing all of this stuff.
Yeah. And he doesn't want a GM because he wants to be the GM. And and there are some schools, like when Alabama brought in the offensive coordinator that he was with Seattle last year, that Kalen DeBoer had at Washington, but he's there now, and DeBoer is actually doing more, getting involved, even though they have the highest paid GM in college football. DeBoer is doing more in terms of
Ryan Grubb.
There you go. Getting more involved with that part of it. Here's okay. Let's fix Mizzou. Chip Kelly's available. Make him your OC. He won the championship last year. He won the chip with Ohio State. Let's get Chip Kelly in here.
Exactly. He won the chip with Ohio State. That's all you got to say. Any
he took
unlimited NIL money team that Drinkwitz was referring to. That's one of them.
He took Oregon to a national championship.
That's also an unlimited NIL money team. I know it was before NIL money, but they were Oregon still.
He got UCLA to 8 wins?
Honestly, pretty impressive.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive
as a head coach.
But when he was a head coach, with the Eagles. That his players were all big fans of him, right?
He went to a playoff in his first year.
He did, but players hated him.
Yeah, well, that happens sometimes. So you think that Vince Lombardi's guys loved him while they were playing for him? Come on, let's be real here. A lot of coaches aren't. You think Bill Belichick? Okay, he was a product of Brady, but there are other guys that have not been particularly well loved by their players and have still had the ability to win.
Yeah, but Chip Kelly isn't one of them for more than a year.
Chip 10-6 in each of his first 2 years.
Yeah, I know. Same how we beat Ohio State. What are you talking about, Rock?
In San Francisco.
Just things can get a little bit rough under Chip Kelly.
That,
also, your defense is going to die a very slow and painful death as you have 45-second drive after 45-second drive. Like the Eagles fell apart because their defense literally was dying on the back end of games.
The thing, Matthew, their players weren't getting their required 10 hours of sleep every night.
was that also Mizzou was having that issue too? Who was the offensive coordinator?
Heupel.
Oh, Heupel, yes. Remember that? Yeah, that year where the Mizzou defense would fall apart every year because they'd go 3 and out with Heupel's stupid ass scheme where it was 35-second total drag. Yeah. Oh my God, that was so dumb. I understood why. Like, I get the offensive side of the things, but it's like you're going to burn your defense out so fast.
Yeah, that happened now and then.
Oh, I had completely forgotten about that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get Chip Kelly's years in college.
Boys, I know OU has an entire player personnel department. Just Google the Mizzou staff and look through it. We already did this on the show. We're not going to do it again. It's just go through all these guys and you can click on and you can see their very weird names of their actual titles. Like he has dozens of people who are essentially his player personnel department.
Yeah.
They're just not named the way you want them to be, or they're not broken off. Just go through it. You can see all these people he has. I guarantee you these guys are not running drills out on the practice field.
And I thought it was interesting because I asked him about that before the season started. I said, Eli, all these schools are getting GMs. Stanford had just gotten Andrew Luck had hired Frank Reich as their new coach. And I said, and Dennis Gates had hired one for the basketball team. That's why I asked the question. And I said, do you have any interest in hiring a GM? And he said, no, I don't need anybody else between me and the president. He said, we got enough people between me and the president.
So if Mizzou did do like an Andrew Luck like hire, like should we go like full like oeuvre and go with Justin Smith? Guy's got a farm in Central Missouri, big ass defensive lineman. Do we go with Justin Smith? Do we go with more of a face in Chase Daniel? Where does Mizzou take it when they get their GM to go? You got to go again. You got to go. I think you got to go Andrew Luck. Like you got to pick an old favorite.
Chase Daniel would be interesting.
Brad Smith,
Howard Richards would be great.
Howard Richards would be an incredible Mizzou GM.
Yeah,
that's an absolutely fantastic,
an exceptionally bright human being.
That's a really good choice. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd want to do it.
No,
but I think
talk about the resume on that guy though.
Oh yeah,
good Lord Almighty.
Doubt. Yeah, he'd. If we needed background information on players, we could get it.
Imagine if you're an opposing GM and you're like, well, I have to go against Howard Richards. Oh yeah, he played football. Do you know what else he did? I don't want to like that's a tough negotiation.
Yeah, if you aren't aware, Howard worked for the CIA.
The guy's been trained before. I mean, that's not. I don't want to go up against him in a negotiation.
Not at all.
That's a really good thought. You know what? We haven't. I'm sorry, Drink, but you know what? Drink, I understand why. But if the new guy comes in, we got to plant this seed early about be like, listen, you're gonna want him on your side.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Who would be?
He's 6'5" and he's been trained.
We don't really have Chase Daniel would be the closest thing we have to an Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I think Justin Smith though.
Yeah,
he's literally. I mean, he's arguably the most talented or the most successful football player to ever come out of out of your university, and he just lives and breathes this the Missouri kind of feel to him. Big dude.
Yeah.
I mean, his guy again, he owns a farm in middle Missouri, I think. I mean, that'd be incredible.
Farmer.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't know. Well,
stop neglecting who you are, Missouri.
I'll have to put some thought into this before tomorrow's show.
He's a farmer, but he's got a cowboy hat on, I bet.
I'll bet he does. Yeah,
that's perfect. What else do we need? We're in the South.
Okay, a couple of more of your responses today. Samuel Howe, speaking, I guess, of Howard. So he would tape the other team's practices, eh? Did you ever hear the story?
No. The CIA, they would get the other team to tape the practices for Mizzou. That's how you do it.
Boy XC 40K. These coaches don't know anything about negotiating contracts and managing a payroll budget. Yes, they do.
They're not.
You'd be surprised.
They're not coaches. These people on the staff, just because they're not delineated under the Mizzou staff directory the way you want them to be, doesn't mean that these guys, they're hiring people to do this job that don't know what they're doing. I promise you, they have a player personnel department. They have dozens of people who are just doing the GM stuff so that the coaches don't have to do any of that crap.
Yeah. Enrico Palazzo, Sophie Cunningham, she could get things done.
I was thinking just, from a Mizzou player, but, honestly,
she's a
I'm
Mizzou
okay
player.
With it. I have an issue with Sophie Cunningham because apparently she is a GCU fan, but we can parse through that later.
Okay, we will. Let's see what else we got. Michael Sam is probably available. Thank you, Mama. He might be to be your next general
Although,
manager.
what's legitimately, because we found out what former Mizzou player is on Drinkwitz's staff right now, I think doing some of that stuff, Evan Bain.
Yeah, right.
Love Evan Bain.
Yeah,
he's fantastic.
So, yeah, we got plenty of guys. Okay, so, hey, we appreciate you participating in the show, and we always want you to be part of it. Don't forget, you can always sign up to be an insider as well.
A couple things really quick. Want to give a quick shout out to St. Louis City SC. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a local girl who had a Make-A-Wish Foundation, wish granted, and they built a little field in her backyard, and they signed her to an official contract with St. Louis City SC. Corey Ray, the new sporting director, was there to sign her to a new contract. City defender Josh Yarrow was also there to celebrate her. And what I thought was so cool is that, and this is why the supporter section and the supporter groups are so cool in soccer, is that she walked out to this little field in her backyard that they had made, and the supporters group that's always there for the games is there with their horn section and the drums, doing like the fight song they always do for the regular team for this girl. And I thought that I again, the team doing it, that's obviously an incredibly cool thing, but the fact that the supporters group got involved to that level where they're playing the songs exactly the same way they were at a regular game.
That's awesome.
I just thought that was so cool. Just a tip of the cap to St. Louis City SC, tip of the cap to the supporters groups that got involved. That was absolutely fantastic. Great thing to see. Benjamin Hockman had the story on STLtoday.com in the Post-Dispatch. Check him out on Twitter. He's got some great videos as well.
And congratulations, by the way, to the SLU soccer team. They go to Indiana and
how about
win
that?
1-0.
Yeah, that was huge.
Head to the third round next weekend.
Also, I love stories. The last time they beat Indiana, I think, or one of the few times they've beat Indiana, the last time they did it, Jack DiMaria, his dad was on the SLU team. That was one of the last ones to beat Indiana in the school's history.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's really cool. And he was a guy who, because there was a great article by Tom Timmerman a few weeks ago talking about how a lot of the SLU guys who are on SLU right now were on the very first city academy teams. Cool. 3 or 4 years ago when they were, like 13 or 14 years old, and they all came up and played together. And one line he had in there was that the current DiMaria playing was the only one who didn't really do any other college visits because he knew since he was a little kid that he wanted to be a Pelican.
That's awesome.
And of course, his sister Maddie DiMaria was the first freshman to ever take home the Gatorade Player of the Year last season, and she's now, or a few years ago when she was a freshman, she's now committed to UNC. But yeah, so they got that big. He had 2 goals in their first round matchup. And then the only shot on goal they got was what they scored against Indiana. It was an insane goal. And now they move on to play Bryant. And hopefully the Billikens can keep on rolling.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you, sir. As always, great work. And thanks to Wilson for getting us up and running here at STL Sports Central. And we will see you with the Randy Karraker Show tomorrow. Have a great evening, everyone.